America needs veterans more than ever. As a veteran business owner, you are equipped with a focus, professionalism, and dedication that is rare in the marketplace. We are looking for former military, make it happen business leaders like you to join forces with a marketplace mission called Veterans Business Force, a division of Network in Action Business Force based in Houston, Texas. We are rallying patriots to work together to grow opportunities for yourself, each other, and our community. We meet once a month at upscale venues to share our vision and align with fellow warriors. Together we are stronger. Google Veteran Business Force to find us before we find you. We are Veterans Business Force, on mission and locking arms.
Ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Live from Houston, Texas, a man who calls it like he sees it, without the normal political correctness you may have grown comfortable with. It's time for the Texas Perspective on current news and events. This show is not for the faint of heart or easily offended. Clear your desk, get your number 2 pencil ready. The Inquisition is about to begin.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
If you have questions, please refer them to the chat room and make them good.
Go ahead, make my day.
The doctor is in, and he will see you now.
Well, I guess we better get on with it.
And we return. Glad to have all of you out there in Radioland, wherever you might be. I do want to say a special hello to all our friends up in Fredericksburg on 104.9 FM. And I would like to remind you, since it is Friday, you probably want to run by the Tejas Smoke Depot and at the very least say hi to Dave and Jody, but, maybe pick up a few items for the weekend. And they've got all that good stuff up there, and we thank them for doing that. We thank them for playing the show in the showroom. So anyway, thank you guys for doing that. Well, today we have Carlene Johnson, a.k.a. CJ, and she's joining us because she is a veteran, and she's involved in, a lot of different things that benefit veterans and trying to do a few things to save your real estate if you happen to end up in a divorce situation. So we'd like to welcome her to the show. Welcome to the show, Carlene.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, we're glad to have you. And now you like myself, you were an airman.
I was, yes, sir.
And after you got out, you joined the Guard for a while, and now you're involved in real estate and in law also, right?
I am the relief resource for divorcing couples and the family law community in relation to real estate and divorce.
Hey, Andy, do me a favor and walk Ronnie out of here, will you? Okay. Thank you. We like Ronnie, but we don't want him stealing Carlene's thunder. So. Well, anyway, explain that to me, Carlene Johnson. Let's get the name of your company out there and your website as well.
Okay. I am Carlene Johnson of CJ Services Realty, powered by United Real Estate Houston. And my website is cjservices.org. I am the only certified divorce real estate expert in the greater Houston area.
And what does that exactly mean? Because divorce is an ugly thing. I hate it. If I'm like God in any way, that's it. I hate divorce.
And that is one of the reasons why this designation came to fruition, is because there has been a disconnect between the family law community and the realtors with regard to handling properties that are involved in divorce. And I am the only person that can be designated as an expert to testify in family law cases, along with the fact that I am a neutral third-party realtor that is uniquely trained to effectively communicate with family law attorneys, the parties, and anyone else involved in real property issues within a divorce proceeding.
Well, give me an example of a recent situation.
There are recent situations that occur too often. First of all, the parties are in the process of a divorce. The court has put orders in place stating that the home is to be sold. And that's basically all it says. The home is to be sold. Well, here are the facts.
Don't neither one of you get to live in that house now. So y'all got to sell it, and if there's any money left over, it goes to the lawyers.
Right, but with realtors, we are taught that we have a fiduciary duty to the person on title. In this instance, the person on title is not the person living in the home. And so as a neutral third party, I'm able to effectively communicate with the in-spouse and the person on title, because they're both not of the same mindset. The in-spouse says, okay, the home has to be sold. That's 5 years down the line. I don't feel like moving. The out-spouse, the home needs to be sold today. Yeah. And so the effective communication. I want my share of
whatever I'm going to get so I can go do something else.
Exactly. And the effective communication has to take place with regard to, and took place with regard to getting the in-spouse to understand the court has stated that the property needs to be sold. At the time, it did not specify when. So there's that ambiguity there. And so we got it to the point where there was a time frame that was established. And I worked with the in-spouse for showings, for preparing the home for viewing by prospective buyers, and also worked with both parties so that they were able to agree with regards to the repairs that needed to take place, et cetera, because funds, one way or the other, funds have to be become involved with regard to preparing the property for sale, et cetera. And so I was able to effectively communicate with both parties to accomplish the sale. And it took some time because, like I said, the in-spouse did not want to leave. And there was that ambiguity in the orders. And that's a part of my designation. Is my ultimate goal is to be a resource to the family law community with regard to the orders put in place. If specific things are in those orders, it would relieve a whole lot of unnecessary or eliminate a lot of court time, even attorney time, if these issues are addressed in the orders that are put in place.
Well, it says on your website that cjservices.org, right at the top, divorce real estate expert. And I had no idea that there was even such a thing until today. So do you work with like family court judges or family divorce lawyer? I mean, who contacts you typically?
Family law attorneys.
Family law attorneys.
I am also a resource for other realtors and divorcing parties, because some divorcing parties agree. They have agreements and they'll reach out to me. And because I'm a neutral third party, I'm able to navigate and discuss with both parties and avoid some of the pitfalls and issues that may arise. With the family law attorneys, when they put me in a case where they designate me as the real estate professional tasked with the sale of the home, I make sure that they are kept up to date with regard to how the transaction is progressing. I minimize my communication with them so that, because that is the role I'm supposed to play. I take over the real estate piece. They don't have to deal with that back and forth, etc. And that is one of the things that has been lacking for a long time. And so, like I said, my mission is to be that, is to eliminate and to bring, basically to make sure that the family law attorneys and the family law community realizes that I am a resource for them.
Well, I don't know if there's a definition of success in what you do. Is there? I mean, is there a point in time when you say, well, that was a successful, do we call it a negotiation?
Success is, there's really no true success. The parties are, this is a demise of their lives. Their entire, everything that has been going on for a certain amount of years. And sometimes there are kids involved. However, minimizing the conflict that between the parties, and if kids are involved, minimizing that conflict between the parties affects the kids in a positive way, rather than hearing one party say, well, I want to keep the house because the kids grew up here. And the kids hear that, they internalize that. Yeah. It's partly my fault that they're fighting because one party wants to stay in the house because of me.
We know that almost always children feel like they're at fault if there's a divorce. And a word to the wise for all the rest of you out there, children never recover from divorce. Not ever. I know children in their 60s that have never recovered from their parents' divorce. So keep that in mind when you're making those decisions. When you've reached that point where the one person you were willing to give up your life for is now your worst enemy. Keep that in mind. So couple's going to get divorced. They've got one, maybe 2, 3 houses in some cases. I know one friend of mine, they had 2 houses with property. And she decided that her boss was a better bet than her husband, so she decided to go with that one. And so now what do? They've got the 2 properties, and this is when one of those family attorneys contacts CJ Johnson and says, I need a little help over here.
That's in that instance, in some instances, that is a market analysis. I will provide a market analysis regarding those 2 properties, because in some instances, one property will go to one party and the other goes to the other. And so the monetary value or the perceived monetary value for those properties is required in order for them to make an informed decision regarding division. Now, if both properties are to be sold, then once I submit that market analysis, that is something that I make sure that I inform both parties and the attorneys with regard to what the process entails. And we set a clear path with regard to whose responsibility it is for certain things and whose responsibility it is for others. And in a perfect world, the sale of the property should take place prior to the divorce being final. Because one of the main concerns in a divorce proceeding is proceeds, is the disbursement of the monetary funds. Yeah. And so my mission and my goal is to accomplish the sale of the property prior to properties prior to the finalization of that divorce.
Well, so then those funds become part of the assets.
Exactly.
Which will then be divvied up the way the judge decides to divvy them up.
Correct. And in some instances, that is how the attorneys are paid. And so all of that is accomplished prior to the finalization of the divorce proceeding.
I see. Well, it's a sticky wicket, as my friends across the pond would call it. And it's a terrible situation to be in. How long have you been doing this, CJ?
I received my specific designation back in 2018. However, prior to obtaining my real estate license in 2008, I'm sorry, I received my real estate license in 2012. Prior to that, I worked in the family law courts for 8 years in Harris County. And so I have the unique perspective of seeing all of the things that divorcing parties are going through, not just the sale of the home. And so that's why I have that knowledge with regard to all the other different things that's on their mind that they're dealing with.
Once again, we're talking with Carlene Johnson, a.k.a. CJ, and cjservices.org is her website, cjservices.org. Well, so you've been practicing here in Harris County.
Yes, sir.
And how have you seen the family court situation change over the last 4 or 5 years from what it was prior to that?
Well, back in 2018, towards the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, of course, in Harris County, most of the family law judges, effective 2019, were new. So it was a totally new group of judges that were handling family law cases.
So that's the question. How has it changed since the big switchover? I mean, what do you see different in the way the family courts are operating now versus what it was, say, 5 years ago?
Well, the interesting thing is there are some differences, and then there are some things that are the same. The current judges have their perspective with regard to how they handle cases, but the interesting thing is with when the new judges went into when they took their positions, I think, and this would be, it would make sense that the family law attorneys wanted to get an overview as to how they would rule, yes, what their perspectives were.
Because that's going to determine how you handle your case.
Exactly.
So that's exactly where I wanted to go. What has changed? How different does it look, Carlene Johnson?
Well, you're
now, if I'm getting you into trouble here, we can do something else.
You're not getting me into trouble. It's everyone has their perspective and view with regard to how cases should be handled. Most of the time, what I have seen is that the judges, and even with these new judges compared to the prior judges, there were some that handled cases a certain way and others that handled it others. And on both sides, it's still the same mix of mindset with regard to some judges go according to which is what they're supposed to do, according to the facts that are presented to them.
We would hope for that.
We would hope that is how it's supposed to be. But there are also with these judges and with the previous judges where some perceptions are, and we all have our preconceived notions or preconceived beliefs that sometimes affect our decision making. And with both, with the prior, because as I said previously, when I worked in the courts, the judges were of a different political party.
I just wondered how judicial philosophy has changed, because this has got to affect the way you do certain things. This has got to affect whether they demand that both properties be sold or if they come up with some other equitable way, at least in my mind. I used to know some of the family court judges. I don't know any of the ones that are currently on the bench.
Well, the interesting thing about that is that decision really, it's in most instances, that decision is made by the family law attorneys and or a mediator. And it's in most cases, by the time the case goes in front of the judge, certain decisions have already been made. It may just be that certain things have to be tweaked, etc. Now, when it comes in conflict, there is no specific way that judges are ruling in either case. It just depends on the circumstances and the information that they are presented.
Okay. Well, I just wondered how that might have changed. It's, one of the things, which is not necessarily in your bailiwick, but for instance, when there's child custody issues, used to be always almost 100% the mother gets custody of the children, regardless of the circumstances. And then, then there are situations where father's been getting more custody lately. So I didn't know if anything similar to that was going on when it comes to property disbursement.
No, not from what I've seen. Not from what I've seen. It's still been where the facts are presented and the information with regards to the who is going to be maintaining that property, etc., financially, who has the capability to do that. There are a lot of other considerations, and it's still that way. It's been that way, was that way before, and it's still that way, where certain considerations are taken into account, and then the decision is made.
Well, I just wondered how that had changed, because I was aware there was a complete change over here in 2019, and I know I'm not sure how much experience some of these current family court judges actually have.
Well, the interesting thing is a lot of them were family law attorneys prior to becoming judges. So they are they were very well versed in family law matters. It's just that they were in a different position now as to the information is presented to them and they would have to make a decision, or an order is presented to them and it's for them to decide whether or not. It was the same thing with the previous judges, where they were prior family law attorneys and then they became judges.
Well, once again, the website, guys, is cjservices.org, cjservices.org. And if you're a family court lawyer, you might want to have somebody like Carlene Johnson here working with you to help get a good result out of that case. And I don't guess do the judges ever call you in?
No, sir.
Okay, no. It's always going to be the lawyers.
It's always the attorneys, but them knowing, identifying or recognizing the designation makes a difference, because this designation is new. There are less than 60 of us in the country, and I am the only one in the greater Houston area, and there's one in Austin. And so that is our goal, is to first of all, in the Houston area, because we have so many, unfortunately, there are so many filings on a daily basis that
that's probably up with because of the COVID, right?
Yes, sir. There are more people that are deciding, you know what, this is too much togetherness for me. And so, unfortunately, but then the interesting thing is, as a certified divorce real estate expert, when I receive a case, I'm aware to look at what orders are in place with regard to temporary restraining orders, protective orders, etc., and I proceed accordingly.
Now, if somebody out there is listening to this and they're contemplating divorce, would it be wise for them to reach out to you in advance, or should they just tell their lawyer, I think you need to look into CJ Services?
I will speak with them either way, because one of the things I make sure to reiterate on a regular basis is that I'm a neutral third party. Even if the first person I speak with comes to me and they decide, they've told me their story, I empathize with their story. However, I'm going to listen to what the other person has to say also. And it is not for me to judge one way or the other. I'm not on either side. If I'm on a side, I'm on the side of the property.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, there you have it. So if you're in that unfortunate circumstance where you might be contemplating such a change, then you can go, assuming you're in the Houston metro area, you can go to cjservices.org, and you can talk with Miss Carlene herself and find out how she may be able to help make the situation at least palatable, if not per se better. And I'm going to give you the final word before we go to break, Carlene.
I appreciate this opportunity. And just for individuals that are in the process of divorce and or family law attorneys that have encountered situations that on a regular basis with regard to real estate and divorce, please reach out to me, CJ Services realty@gmail.com, and or you can give me a call at 832-457-4316. I am a resource. I am open to speaking to you prior to even deciding whether or not the sale of the home. I also partner with certified divorce lending professionals that are able to take the information with regard to whether or not someone has the ability to buy out the other party. So there are certain things that need to be taken into consideration when you're contemplating divorce if real property is involved.
Well, cjservices.org is the website. You can reach her directly at 832-457-4316. That's 832-457-4316. And you can talk to Miss Carlene Johnson, or you can go right to cjservices.org and contact her in that way. And thank you for coming by the studio today. I really appreciate it. It's been insightful. I didn't even know this sort of thing existed.
Well, once again, I appreciate the opportunity, and this has been very nice.
Well, I'm glad you came by. We're going to be right back. We got a lot more for you today on Freedom Friday. Be sure to support the sponsors. Be right back with you.